A single snicker that grew into a wave of open ridicule was the beginning of the laughing that could be heard through the gallery. It died just as swiftly, being strangled by the harsh crack of the gavel that was the only sound it made. Take, I stand. The order that was issued by the bailiff was only a formality. While Judge Raymond Callahan ruled over them from his wheelchair, everyone was already up in anticipation of his arrival. His dark robe draped over the lifeless outlines of his legs when he reached the age of 62, yet nothing could ever detract from the power that was reflected in his steel blue eyes. He had controlled this chamber with a reputation for being cruel for 10 years, and the case that he was dealing with today was not an exception to that pattern, an issue that cannot be disputed. It is a repeat offender. A black guy named Darius Moore, who was in his late 30s at the time, sat at the defendant's table in complete silence. It was clear that he was simply another file in the stack due to his worn peach jumpsuit and his hands that were shackled. Accused of resisting arrest, obstructing communication, and committing fraud. There was a humming tension that was broken up by the voice of the prosecutor. It is recommended by the people that they get at least 15 years. The defendant has squandered the time of this court by making accusations that are completely absurd. Darius bowed his head with modesty. Not even a few hours before, his public defender had given up. In preparation to hand down the judgment, Judge Callahan straightened his posture. However, the hefty doors opened with a creaking sound. The room resounded with the gentle patter of footsteps that were not very loud. By alone, a little girl who was no more than 7 years old made her way down the middle aisle. Her outfit was a light blue color, and her hair was braided in 2 tidy braids. She was looking straight ahead. She made her way past the astonished attorneys and audience members who were whispering until she was standing immediately in front of the bench. "Who is this child?" Callahan yelled out, his expression revealing a look of bewilderment. The girl glanced up before anybody else could respond, her eyes remaining serene and unblinking the whole time. "Let my daddy go," she continued in a voice that was unwavering and I'll make you walk." Everybody in the courtroom burst out laughing. There was a snort from the prosecution, and the guards seemed to be smiling. When Callahan was taken aback, he just blinked. "What did you just say?" "I said, if you let him go, I'll make you walk." The judge yelled, "This is not a place for fairy tales," and the court was right. "Bailiff, remove her. Just let her speak." Darius yelled out as slowly getting to his feet from his seat. The young lady added, "I came because you're not listening," without faltering in her conviction. "My father is often ignored by others because they are unaware of his true identity." Callahan's eyes narrowed in irritation. "And who is he, exactly?" "He has a history of assisting others just before you put him behind bars. Previously, he was able to improve them." A further round of laughter spread across the room. The irritation of Callahan increased. "Why is she here?" An unpleasant response was given by the bailiff, who said, "She is his daughter, Your Honor. She entered the room by herself. We made an effort to prevent her from doing so." The judge turned his gaze back to the young lady. "What's your name, child?" "Hope." There was complete silence in the room. The terms seemed to linger inside the atmosphere. Callahan said in a more subdued tone, "Hope," and then added, "This is a courtroom. However, this is precisely the location where it ought to take place," she said. "It has been 11 years since you have occupied that chair. Following the accident, you didn't have any sensation in your legs. Someone told me that your spine was fractured." As he drew his lips together, a firm line formed. "Enoog. Enoog. But you want to walk." Although his knuckles were white, Callahan's hands were firmly gripping the wheels of his chair. The presence of Hope moved closer. She said, "I'm not here to scare you," as she approached. "The question I have for you is one that no one else will ask. Oh, please, don't damage my father once again. No, he did not lie. To put it simply, you did not believe him." She gently raised her hand, as if she were reaching for something that was hidden from view. "If you give him back to me," she murmured quietly, "I'll give something back to you." There was a little hesitation before Callahan opened his lips to speak. In his legs, a feeling that was subtle but indisputable began to develop. It was not a sensation of anguish or a hallucination. Rather, It was a gentle warmth, as if sunshine were penetrating his knees. The man glanced down. There was no new movement. However, there was a distinct difference. He turned his gaze back to Hope. There was complete silence in the courtroom. She said, "Please, once more, let him go." Darius's eyes were welling up with tears, and his face was rocking back and forth. "She's not lying." At that moment, the judge was rendered speechless for the very first time in his whole career. He was staring at the youngster. As he gazed at her little hand that was extended out to him, the warmth did not diminish. Rather, it expanded, reaching nerves that had been thought to be dead for a very long time. In a deep breath, he said, "What are you doing to me?" She whispered, "I'm not doing anything." And she was right. "You are the one who has always desired to learn how to walk. Simply put, I'm releasing what's still buried deep inside you. You're a child." She gave a little nod. "And you're afraid." He had his jaw clenched. "You think I'm scared of a fairy tale?" "No," Hope informed me. "You're scared of being wrong. More profoundly than any legal argument that has ever been made." The words hit a nerve. Over a period of 10 years, he had come to terms with his paralysis, which affected not just his legs, but also his soul. The day he lost the ability to use his legs was the day he ceased believing in anything that he was unable to explain. Darius's eyes were wide with astonishment, but they did not show any sign of surprise. He gazed at Darius. Callahan said, "You knew," as he spoke. Darius took a lengthy gulp. "She has achieved success in the past. Small miracles here and there. On the other hand, I never requested that she do so. I never gave her the opportunity to attempt this." "Why now?" "Because I told her I wasn't going to make it out of here." Hope was approached once again by the judge. The warmth had now worked its way down to his thighs. During the time when his right foot was twitching, he gazed down in disbelief. First, he departed. There was a collective gasp that dissipated the air in the room. The chairs were scratched. Hope did not show any signs of flinching. Judge Raymond Callahan rubbed his hands on the arms of his chair in a slow and painful manner on a regular basis. He pushed, and finally he was up, despite the fact that his legs were trembling fiercely. Using both feet, he stood up. It was complete and utter quiet. As he stood there, towering and tall, his black robe hung strangely, and his body shook with the exertion, or the miracle, that he had just experienced. It wasn't failure that caused him to drop back into the chair. Rather, it was an overpowering sense of incredulity. Hoping to take a step back, Hope smiled. "Now," she murmured, her voice soft yet resonating across the room, "please give me back my dad."